We'll be talking about election bilanoma because we are still in that cycle. Dr. DANVAS MAKORI, Commissioner with the National Cohesion and Integration Commission. Good morning.
Morning, Eric.
Is it a good morning?
Morning.
Good morning.
I'm not even sure I need to be in the show today. Two reasons. One which is I was watching Eric during the presidential debate, and I think after that, I don't know, never want to be in his shows because he has had questions.
You've been here, Bwana.
But I know.
Yeah, we're friends, Bwana.
We'll see you guys. How are you guys?
We're good.
We're well. DANVAS, we've been running this election bilanoma campaign for the last couple of weeks, where we've been talking about let's maintain peace, let's penda jirani, elections will come and go, our neighbors will still be our neighbors and lifelong friends.
Yep.
And it's been largely peaceful, hasn't it? Since Tuesday.
Absolutely. You know, to City's proverb, I think I found an application. We've built this partnership with you guys and with our country, and we were using leather.
Not khaki.
Not khaki. Not khaki. And leather can be stretched. It's tough. It has tenacity to it. It will stretch. But it's tough. It will hold. And I don't think we were naive, guys, who think that what we're doing will not be tested. Okay, there are people who will not try to test that. People who, instead of having the country first, have selfish interests or ambitions first. That's what always plunges this country to chaos. And because we knew that, what we did was not just up here and there, it was also in the ground machinani. We engaged from here with opinion leaders and makers and shapers, but also on the ground with people who were everywhere. It was a two-pronged approach from the top to the bottom, both ways. And I can say it was largely successful because I can tell you yesterday, as what was happening in Bombas was unfolding, I was getting updates what was happening in the ground real time and activating all our peace structures, all our assets on the ground to make sure that, especially on the places that we knew there might be problems, together with the partners and the security, so making sure that we can respond quickly. And largely, as there are a few incidents here and there, but for the most part, it held. So yes, and I've said this before on the issue of master plan, what we do here does make a big difference. And we're privileged, and it has been an awesome partnership, at least to make sure and to be in the front seat of our country as we transition. And that this was an instrument, at least, to plant peace. And we've built this with Leather City. And leather no. How do you call it again?
Khaki no be leather.
Khaki be no leather. Yes. Khaki no leather. And here we're here. So we're still hoping this leather will hold as it's being stretched. There are people who still want to stretch it further.
Even as you talk about that, I was saying that, look, generally, by and large, even waking up this morning and, the messages have been, let's just try and keep it together.
Yeah.
So are we looking at a forced peace? Or are we looking at really inherently, people don't want to go back to that place where, things were really terrible? Because it looked as though a very little thing yesterday, well, okay, maybe we shouldn't call it little, but something with that potential danger was enough to spark that behavior.
True.
So are we looking at, real sense of peace?
So there's two things here. Like I said, these are two-pronged approach. So on the ground, when you spend time with people who are from Kisumu, Kericho, we across Nakuru, wherever the whole country, you know what was significant was that in all these places, as much as people were passionately supporting their candidates and their team and their movement, genuinely in their heart, they said, you know what, let it be as it be, but we want individual peace.
Yeah.
Majority of people. The skirmishes or riots, it's a little bit I saw yesterday. If you do a quick profile, because I had clips and we're watching from a situation room and a command center. And if you just get a good profile, I can almost bet 98% that those people did not vote. Guys causing trouble, while guys who are blocking roads did not vote.
Why? They're not registered as voters?
Well, of course.
Or not interested in voting?
They're not interested. It's the same folk that we engaged, the politicians engage also. When we do the peace caravan, when rallies, those guys don't vote. I can tell you that, I can tell you that fact. People who vote are stakeholders in this country. And in as much as you voted for candidate A or B and your candidate lost, because you participated in that process, you'll be least likely to participate in violence or cause chaos. Because you're a stakeholder in the democratic process. You know it is part of the process. Somebody will lose, somebody will win. But these guys, they have nothing to lose. That's why exactly why they're doing that. And there are just a few little individuals that and we're at least able to contain. I really thank our counterparts, our security partner. They were really able to respond. We're coordinating very well. Coordinating with county commissioners, OCPDs, OCSs, DPS, just to really respond in time. There was proper deployment, and at least we're able to bring peace. By 8 o'clock, the country was peaceful.
There were I remember before we went into this, the last time you were here, and we also said, look, there are places where people have said, look, for us it's a win or a win.
Yeah.
So obviously that is being led by some serious emotion, right? So there are those who still hold that position even today, especially then with the events of yesterday. We saw many things that happened that will then cement that emotion in people's hearts, and maybe are just waiting for the opportune moment to do so. In no way am I saying, DANVAS, that, people are, largely holding on to peace, but just give them a moment and this is going to come out. That's not what I'm saying. But we can't run away from the emotion that people are feeling now. And the question is, how then must those around them, the person that you feel is in a vulnerable situation, how then must that be dealt with? Because we can't run away from the seriousness that they feel it with.
Okay. So I'll start from your first part of the question and the second part of the question. Because it's a complex question. I don't want to give you a challenging question today morning.
I know.
But it's all right.
It's still 7 o'clock.
I have not had my coffee yet. Lesson learned, and I practice this myself. Beware of echo chambers. An echo chamber. Beware of friends or people that will tell you what you want to hear rather than the truth. It is dangerous. It is very dangerous, especially as leaders. You have an obligation to surround yourself with people who will tell you the truth as it is. If the king is naked, the king is naked. Okay? What we saw prior to what you saw yesterday, and you saw it on social media platforms, is every camp believed they had won. Okay?
Did they believe?
They actually did believe. Let me tell you something. On the morning after elections, actually that morning, it's sometime about 9 o'clock, because I was up the whole night, slept a couple of hours, was awakened by calls because things happening online, and both camps starting to post the results and say they have won, they have tallied.
Yep.
And I come to that a little bit later. I called because I knew key people on both sides who have, tallying, let's put it that way. I said, what's going on? I listen. I call this guys, Now, we actually, just like your media house and other media houses, we had an API from IBC because we're critical stakeholder in this process. And of course, we had to do ours. Guys, if anybody was doing this process, it is a tedious, heavy, resource sucking, intensive process. You don't just do it a couple of hours later, you're done.
Yep.
It doesn't work. By the time we finish, it'll take a couple of days, and we have to do it 3-4 times to make sure we're very, very sure of what we're seeing. So I called these guys. They're like, no, we have it. And everybody generally believed it. Now, I was in primary school a couple of years back. Well, maybe 30 years back or so. Class 1. The first lesson I learned in arithmetic is addition. that 1 plus 1 can only be 2. Now, if you want to make it 2.5 of 11, now you have a problem. Now, you are the problem. The axiom, it's called in mathematics, is very clear. The line that you draw, it has to be very clear. 1 plus 1 can only be 2. And 2 plus 2 can only be 4. Now, if I want it to be 5, I will justify why 1 plus 1. I'll make it up. And that's exactly what you were saying. And then I call that. Now, that's why people want to do press conferences. I call them back, guys, chill down. First of all, this is like a day before. IBC is chilled. And everybody kind of chilled. One side really, really, really listened to me. They called down their bloggers. They started stop posting their numbers. They said, guys, just chill. The other guys kept on doing it. Now, to answer your question, they genuinely believed it. Genuinely believed it. All right.
From their tallies.
Yeah.
So
Now-
they're adding 1 and 1 and they were getting 3.
Yeah, I don't understand it.
And
from
they
the same
believed it.
and from the same pool of information.
That's what perplexed me. And I was asking both actually the other day, like, okay, I don't understand how from the same pool you can arrive at 2 different numbers. I mean, it's just the way it is. Now, you know what it is because, and I've been there and in the forefront, is because more oftentimes than not, so leaders ostracize people who tell them the truth as it is. Okay, and you bring close people that will tell you exactly what you want to believe.
Yeah.
And it's so easy, and I'm not saying this in a critical manner or to disparage anybody. It's so easy to believe a lie. A lie becomes truth. I was critical, and you saw our spat with Facebook. My issue wasn't just a hate speech, but the issue was both misinformation and disinformation. Because the average person will believe you, Eric, undo or City because of your position. If you post something right now on your handle, true or false, they will believe it. They will not criticize it. They're not critical thinking. They're like, Eric said it, it's the truth.
Yep.
You said it, that's it. They won't even think twice. That's the average person. Now, that's a question. The second point of how they feel. Let me tell you something. If you've been through this process, I don't know if you've been a political process or any process that you have to compete for something. A loss is a loss and it is painful and it's devastating and it is crashing. It is not easy. Folks have spent a lot of resources. Let me even start from the races that didn't get attention, the NMCA seat, to the MP seat, to senator, women rep, and governor. They were 69. There were 16,000, about 16,200 people who were competing for all these positions. About 1,882 elected positions. That's an attrition rate of approximately 90%. 90% of the chance you were going to lose. Okay? But somehow, if you're a politician, you're not just optimistic, but it's something that gets in your mind that genuinely believe you have to win and you will win and you will win. Okay? And I feel for them, and it is part of the going process. So mine is an encouragement. Okay? First of all, to those who competed. Okay? Secondly, to the followers that we were asking. I know it's crashing, devastating, but I have to be very objective here, and not that I am being indifferent to how the emotional people are feeling. Here it is. I'm not a fan. I mean, sorry, I'm not get people to listen to your show by saying this, but I'm not a fan of the Premier League. Okay, but people do. People watch it, and I get it. I am still stuck with the NFL, so you're over it. Not the NBA. So people are emotionally invested. Even using my case, you're invested to your team. My team is the Baltimore Ravens. Okay, I'm emotionally invested. But one thing I purposed, I'll be objective. If I see they're sucking this season, I will not really put my hopes thinking they're gonna win the Super Bowl or win your team to win the Premier League. I mean, if it's bad, it's bad. So if there's a team that has been losing that is very famous, I don't want to crash their hopes for those people of that team. I mean, you don't have much hopes for this season. So manage your expectations. So to the people, let's be objective also as Kenyans, that as we went through this process, we knew that for a fact there's going to be somebody who will win and somebody who will not win. Let me use that phrase, not a loser, but somebody who will not win. Okay? And it's coming upon us to accept the process that we endowed ourselves as a people, this constitution, and this democratic process that we said, this is the path we choose as a nation. Okay? Now, given that there's contention, given that there is, of course, people feel aggrieved, there's a way to dissent. Dissent lawfully, which is the constitution has provided court to court. Don't incite people. Don't say, don't you wipe up emotions already. Dissent lawfully go to court. And courts have proven, given 2017, that they're also very independent. They'll call it as it is. You understand? So, to me, but let's just Kenyan management. Last but not least, this is an encouragement to Kenyans. You see, both these candidates, the four of them, I can tell you for the most part, I know some of them, some of them very personal. They love this country. That's why they chose to run for those positions. They chose to run for those positions.
They actually mean it.
They mean it. They don't hate this country. None of them is an enemy to this country. They love Kenya. That's why they chose to run, so that they make a difference. Now they can have other motives that we may not know, but for the most part, they actually love this country. Because they love this country, they chose to run for a position that can make a difference for you, my listener. Okay, to make a difference for you. It might not be the person that you chose, but he's a Kenyan and who loves this country, is a patriot. On that notice, we don't have a blue Kenya or a yellow Kenya. We have only one Kenya. And in our flag, the place where it signifies our land, it is green. Green is as a result of blue and what? Yellow.
It's interesting that you say that, because what you're saying, the words that you speak could actually serve as a balm for a lot of people, but then there needs to be the that they can believe that, because unfortunately, DANVAS, we came from months of campaigns, politicking, things were said, emotions were put out there, people castigated, narratives having been formed, and it's almost as though, because this is it, that you're basically, been a breakup kind of thing with that situation. It's been the situation you've been in. You've romanced it for all this time. And then in one day, DANVAS, you're saying, okay, come on, guys. You've broken up. Look ahead. It's not an easy position to be in for a lot of folks.
But it must be said.
Absolutely, it must be said. But then the thing is, the closure part of it is very important as well.
The assumption that people go into a political process with their minds is where the fallacy begins.
It's an emotional thing. It's an emotional investment.
And
hugely so.
Even that thinking process is emotional. The involvement is emotional. If you look at the crowds and the way people respond, if people are using their brains, they wouldn't do half the things they do. Why would I want to go out in the rain to listen to someone speaking when I can watch it on TV?
Sure, but then coming to what you were saying, DANVAS, and this is the thing, that it would have been the farthest thought from people's minds who are on the other side to believe that Raila Odinga loves Kenya. It's the farthest thought for people who are on the other side today to believe that William Ruto loves Kenya. So for you to say, as in really loves Kenya, is invested in making sure this country is taken from point one to the second, to the next. So that's why I'm saying that your words serve as a balm, because then maybe people can start to think differently and say, okay, hold on a minute. Maybe it's possible that even though I did not support him or her, that here is an opportunity for me to also join into this thing. Are we saying that in as much as you felt this way for the last, who knows how long, and you saw things play out in the way in which you did, there's a possibility that you could pick up from all of this and then say, okay, let's do this together?
One of the things, not to be too sentimental, but since, as Sidi said, people are emotional, let me address the emotional aspect to that. Our campaign was Penda Jirani. And in the English sense, it has an emotional component to it.
Yep.
Okay? Just loving your neighbor. But I'm going to use the Greek word for love. The Greek, we have four words for love. Okay.
Oh, you're really getting emotional now.
I'm gonna go.
He wants to take us to the philos, heroes.
Yes.
Let's do it.
Okay. So we do the philia and eros, which is passionate, emotional, and brotherly. But I'm gonna use the word that sometimes we know, but we don't understand the implication of that. Agape. Love. The actually love. Agape love is not emotional. It's not what you feel. I don't feel like I love City Day or Eric or Do. No, it's not what I feel. Okay? It is willful. Agape, actually, the essence of agape is a willful decision to love somebody.
So it's a verb.
And it's a verb, and it's unconditional to an extent. Especially, of course, God is unconditional, but even us, we as human beings, we ought to be. Whereby I love you regardless, with all your weaknesses and strengths, I know. So the day you piss me off, that mean I stop loving you. You piss me off, I'm gonna be angry with you and I'll be pissed at you. But that don't mean I stop loving you because I made a willful decision and accounted for everything. You understand?
Yep.
Our campaign was driven with that you know what? We are a diverse country with different ethnic backgrounds and different economic backgrounds. But that diversity should not be a source of division, but we account for it as a source of strength, that you're different. And it's in our difference that is strength, because we're all not the same. Even your body, your nose and your finger are not the same. They're differently and they serve different purposes, but you need all of them to work for your body to work. And as a country, we need all of us for this country to work. We need all of us. And I'm going to repeat that. We need all of us. And God, in His infinite wisdom, placed Eric, NCT, Ndu, and DANVAS in this country, regardless of where we come from ethnically and academically and age-wise. We are here to be a part of this country. And it is that we need to appreciate that we are here. We have to make a conscious decision that your neighbor is different than you, speaks differently than you, looks different than you, but you must love them. And in loving them, you account for everything, their strengths, their weaknesses, and it is okay. Which now comes to what you were saying, that you know what? Your neighbor might also be of a different political persuasion. Okay, it does not mean it's your enemy. Just that they think differently. They are emotionally vested in a different aspect. And they have a right to it. Number one, our constitution gives people right to do that. Okay, just like you also have a right to think differently, politically speaking. But does not mean we dislike each other with each other. But politicians, because of expediency and the myopic, want to exploit that, okay, to say, you know what, Eric, City, no, you need to, this guy is not good, okay, and look at Eric and the way he looks at you, and the other day he told me about you, so that I can get sympathy from you, so that I can do something from me. But by doing that, I saw discord, okay. So our program and our plan was to plant that seeds of resilience and love and bring consciousness to people. Like, guys, you know what? There's the reality of politics, which cannot deny it. And yes, you have a right to be an Azimio, you have a right to be in Kenya Kwanza or Agano. But guess what? It is okay. It is really okay. Be that. But overriding that, transcendency, the transcendency of this is that you need to love others. It's transcendent.
We have to remain in that position.
Yes.
City, you wanted to ask a question or make a contribution.
You know yes, Eric.
Welcome.
Thank you, sir.
The floor is yours.
Thank you, sir. Whatever happens in the political sphere, or let me say whatever the public sees in the political sphere, is very rarely what is actually happening. Very rarely. The unfortunate thing about our electoral process is that beyond what we all want, which is peace is what everybody wants, the process has been dominated by a narrative that I personally do not know how we are ever going to overcome. And when I say the process, I mean the process involving everyone. It's not as though there's somebody who is exempt from it. How it is we actually get to win elections. But it doesn't start with the elections, it starts with the nominations. It's like over time, what we seem to have done, we've indoctrinated and we've conditioned our people to believe that an electoral process has to be ingenuine. There has to be something wrong about it. Otherwise, it is not an electoral process. The complaints don't begin when we get to D-Day like now. When you are electing any political aspirant for any political position, there are always complaints, and it begins with nominations. Now, the build-up to this leads us to a point where even where something can be straightforward and trustworthy, you will mistrust it. And even when the explanation given is the only explanation, you will cast doubt and say, no, are we really sure that this is it? To the point where, at least I'm talking from my point of view, I'm not even certain who is speaking the truth. I'm not certain whether we are dealing with a situation where our electoral process is not a question of how well we vote, but who uses the machinery that has been there for the longest time to outsmart the other so that they end up being the winner. Because you're talking about voter bribery. who will cast the first stone? If you are talking about influencing the voter, who will cast the first stone? He who is without sin, who is it? If you're talking about influencing people in positions of authority, who doesn't try to do it? So really, from where I sit, the person who ends up winning is the person who has understood the system better, or understood it and has been able to manipulate it better than the other. Now, surely,
So you're saying it's not the will of the people?
I'm saying it is no, it is
So
really
the will of the people is manipulated.
it is the will, because that will has been manipulated. So insofar as that will is manipulated, it is the will, because you're not forced to go and vote. You're not forced to take a bribe. You're not forced to be manipulated. You accept. So it is the will of the people. But I'm saying it is a sorry state, because if indeed that is the truth, then our electoral process is in a truly sorry state. But you know the real sorry state, Eric, is because the damage that process does to you psychologically, the damage that it does even to your soul, because you're compromised to a point where you have to ask yourself, what sort of person are you really? Now that is, in my opinion, the soul of the Kenyan voter. There are many who actually vote genuinely. But then, again, if I'm casting this mind of doubt that I have developed, what is genuine and what isn't, really?
Is it a reflection, now that you are giving a prognosis, but let's ask ourselves this in context now. Is it a reflection of the kind of people, and this is not a criticism in a negative sense, of the kind of people we genuinely are as a country, or as Kenyans? I'm asking this in context because, I mean, personally, having spent most of my life out of the country, when I came back, one of the culture shock that I found was the general, I think, dishonesty of our people. That I cannot leave my phone in a restaurant or a mat and find it. As a matter of fact, leave alone leave it. Somebody will try to get it out from me from a pickpocket or something. Leave alone leave it somewhere. That I cannot deal in any business venture in faith. I used to tell folks here, the currency in the US is not the dollar. The currency is trust. You trust strangers. They will do the right thing. There's an inherent sense to do what is right. Here, there's an inherent sense to survive, to cut shortcuts, just to do the wrong thing. I remember this, and I just remember this. I drove from the airport, and when I left, there was nothing like an eastern bypass. So because of traffic, cut to the eastern bypass, and that place was non-existent. When I left, 20-something years ago.
Yeah.
And I was perplexed and finding incredulous of, for lack of a better, the chaos of the constructions, the apartments, that it is through Azmolongo, on that side. Let's look at how we build our buildings. That if you, even when there are codes, somebody will use the wrong materials, cut shortcuts, and buildings collapse. When a road is not done, anyway, quick to criticize the Chinese. Yeah, I am not the biggest fan of them. But give a Kenyan contractor a road to build. Show me one who does the right thing. Show me. There's a phrase in Jerusalem, in Isaiah says, show me one who does right in Jerusalem. And I'll pardon you. Show me
One
who does right in
who
Kenya.
does right. Show me a contractor who does right. I need to give him something to do. And by the way, I don't know who built this studio. This is a world-class studio. But I can tell you, the materials are not from here, or I can almost suspect, or because of the excellence of this place. And I'm not saying I don't know, but I can look at something and say, nah, this is not from here. You understand? Or the workmanship is not local to an extent. You understand? Why? Because what I'm saying is, if you look at how we operate, how we do things, how we engage one another, the average person CT, we find be they're out to get you. Come on, biashara. You understand? They're out to steal. You can't just say, you know what? Let's make a genuine. I've done deals, not in this country, of thousands of dollars, millions of Kenyan shillings with people I do not know. They gave me their money to deliver things that I will deliver later, and they don't know me. But because of the trust, transaction trust, I delivered to exact specifications. You understand? Patia mtu kwenye pesa yako. Ukuta tu naye leo, mwambie, here's 1 million shillings. Go get me 3 bags of coffee.
And they deliver.
And they deliver.
Daktari, make a mistake and send M-Pesa to the wrong number.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
You want to do a test? Send it to the wrong number and see what happens.
So,
The person may be willing,
So-
but it's just a fuliza unajua like unless.
but M-Pesa said they can return your body regardless of freezer. But
Oh no, they will tell you this person has not responded. I am saying because it's happened to me
It
more than
happens.
once. Yes. It's M-Pesa now apologize and say, in Kiswahili, amekataa. Yes.
So are we saying essentially that these behaviors that we are seeing, take a cross section of that, and that's where you get your leaders from?
not even that. It's intrinsic. What I say, there's intrinsic in our nature to be disingenuous, to be dishonest, to be deceptive, just not to do the right thing.
You know, we've entrenched dishonesty
Yeah.
as a value system in this country.
So this intrinsicness to do it right now comes to play now during elections.
Yes, it does.
It expresses itself because you know, forgive me to say using biblical phrases, a good well can only give good water. Bitter well, salty well can only give salty water. So during an election, we express ourselves in our true nature,
Yeah.
which is deceptive, dishonesty, and all that. So we shouldn't blame so much the poor people, the situation.
So it's
It is-
not the situation. Are we
intrinsic.
saying that it's not a tempered situation? It's not that your, preferred candidate did not win or that you are not happy with things. You're saying nature intrinsically then makes people behave this way.
it's
Because if
culture,
that
yeah.
was the case, then why do we not see the same things happen in other countries
because-
who have quote unquote mature democracies whereby you're, the person that you didn't require or the person that you did not support wins, but you're still able to go ahead with life
Because if you spend time with those places, you go to Germany, if you go to Norway, and you see how even just the average person lives their life, they do what is right all the time. If a traffic light is red,
they're stopping.
they will stop, whether there is no kind of intersection, whether there's a police watching, whether there's a camera, they will stop. You understand? Because it is what is expected of you. It's
It's
a law,
what's right.
and you do right. Whether somebody's mimi na a traffic light usiku, ana samjara sai utapigiwa on pep. I'm the one who stop, and people are hooting at me. I'm like, hold on, it is red.
Yes.
Why are you hooting at me? I'm not going. It is red. Red means stop.
Commissioner, let me just bring you back to
So
today, to what's happening.
Yeah.
Okay. We saw the 4 commissioners led by the vice chairperson addressing a separate media conference yesterday, and the chairperson and his original 3 commissioners are left at Bomas. Now, as NCIC, you recently established a committee called the Kenya Eminent Panel for Peace, led by Ambassador Francis Mudhaura. It included Archbishop Emeritus Jackson Ole Sapit, Archbishop Anyolo. It has mediators like Lieutenant General Sumbeyo. Is this part of their mandate, like to reach out to these warring factions? Because their mandate here, you've said, is one of them is facilitating dialogue and mediation between disputing parties to reduce hostilities and ensure the political transition is not turbulent while promoting consensus building. Assignment number 1.
Actually, right before you saw what you saw yesterday, first of all, they're independent. We say, you know what, you do your thing. Because some people can blame and say it can be partisan or it's part of the government. So that's why we've appointed them so that they can eminent people respected. We ran that list with both parties. Are you okay with this? Are you okay with these guys? For the most part, yeah. Of course, they said, okay, I want 1 or 2. But generally speaking, they're okay with it. Prior to what you saw yesterday, we had initiated, they were rather started their work behind the scenes, reaching out to both parties, ensuring that however the outcome comes, at least there will be sobriety to conversation. As it happened, they were there actually. Some of them were in bombers. the Archbishop, His Grace Osapit was there. We had discussions with him, Bishop Oginde, and we were having actually part of this discussion. Calls are being made. You understand? So they're actually doing, and one of the reasons actually was to do that. You see, in as much as I say, which is true, that you ought to be sent lawfully, go through the legal process, and it is fine. But will that bring healing to our country? You understand? It is your right, of course. But where we come from is to have a very divisive political season we've gone through. We don't want to see this country tear apart. We want to bring country together. And diplomacy is key, and genuine diplomacy, whereby issues that were raised can be addressed. And I can tell you for a fact, they have been engaging since yesterday night. There's a lot of discussions behind the scenes. I really hope we'll have a brief today about it after this to hear what is the situation and then what is the stance. But where we come from is we want to see this country healed and brought back together. We don't have to be divided through the democratic process, although the instance of democracy sometimes, of course, forces you to choose between A or B. So there's that work, and that's why we actually appointed that panel, and actually they have been doing a fantastic job. Hopefully they can deliver.
So they're working autonomously.
They are.
Are you giving them any technical support? For example, with Intel, maybe you had Intel about the rifts within the commission itself, the IEBC.
Of course,
and then you alert them that, you know what, there's something happening, you may need to.
Of course, as a mediator, if you've ever done mediation, there's nothing as bad. There have been contact situations whereby you go to a conflict and you know the facts. And you're sidelined. You're like, whoa, what was that? You understand? Because it destabilizes you. And even the people you're mediating will question your credibility or even integrity or even your capability. They're like, dude, you didn't know that.
You don't even know.
You didn't even know the facts. So you give them a baseline. Of course, you give baseline facts, and also they also get it from other sources and other places. But baseline facts are always established. This is this. So as you engage, at least you know 1, 2, 3 things. And the good thing also, they actually supported. We engaged all international observer missions about this process. The EU knows about them. African Union knows about them. So all mediation, especially international mediation, the new American ambassador, they know this. So we want to channel this. And one of the reasons we decided that was because we've learned from the history. We don't need to wait for Kofi Annan's to come from the outside. That we can actually fix our problems. And we're a family, we can fix and we can have a discussion about problems. So of course we do purely just help what we can, but I can tell you they're pretty much autonomous. That's so that they can be free to call it as it is by themselves, because I mean we trust these guys. These are solid people in our country.
Do I hear you to be saying, Dr. Ari, that the work of the NCIC has actually just begun? I'm going to explain why I hear you saying this. I hear you saying that beyond just ensuring we have a peaceful election, you are saying NCIC needs to ensure that we have a peaceful nation, so that the election is not just a one-off where we have peace during an election, but it is something that is part and parcel of the way we do things. So that you can say Kenyans work in tandem with the ideals of seeking and ensuring that there is peace in their country.
You know, when we were doing, to answer your question, when we were doing even this awesome partnership with you guys, there was that fear of, you only do this because it's election time. And I said, trust you me, the heavy lift begins after the election. If you ever go into a counselor, a genuine counselor will have a very serious, honest conversation with you. Okay? Whether if you're struggling through grief or addiction or loss, whatever, they will have a very candid discussion. We purpose as NCIC to have a very candid discussion about what has just happened as a country, because that is part of healing. We don't want to sweep this thing under the rug. And just because there'll be no issues after this, and let's say, today there's no right, everybody's peaceful, and now we move forward. No. We intend to have a candid discussion, especially in critical places in our country with critical leaders, especially Uko Mashinani. We'll explain the process. what happened. So that the truth is important.
Yeah.
You understand? The truth is that what lacks. Our country, and I said even here last time, we've never healed from 07 because we sit on the rag. So we intend now, to answer the question, really now to do the heavy lift of work. That panel will go even beyond just engaging the presidential candidates. It will take them to the ground with key people, influential people on the ground, give the fact this is exactly what happened, these are the facts, and hear people's, part of therapy is you hear people need to ventilate. Oh, may I feel? Then you say, no, this is exactly what happened. Yeah. So the real work begins. We'll have a candid discussion. And it is a hard thing to do, but it's the right thing to do for our country. If we don't have, this kind of discussion of our processes, what happened now, so that next time, I don't want just to wait before election, then we start all over something else. No. We now want to build a solid foundation, because now we have an opportunity to have to address the soul, to be introspective, and to the soul of a nation, and have this discussion. And people need closure. You talked about closure. People need that. People need to explain what really happened.
Right.
I mean, if you ever had a tragic loss, sometimes you need to explain what. When you hear a friend pass away, the first question is, what happened?
What happened?
Don't you ask that?
Yep.
What happened?
Yep.
You understand? It is important. So the people who need to understand, it's a tragic loss for them.
Sure.
They're questioned right now. What happened? So we'll have that conversation of what happened.
Do you expect, this team to work? And I'm coming back onto, yes, we know. I mean, the political divide, Raila's side and Ruto's side, and maybe Wajakoya and Reverend Maore. But the commission, the commission is split, not down the middle. Well, let's just call it down the middle, with the 3 old commissioners and the 4 new commissioners. Yeah. Do you expect any sort of mediation to take place between these commissioners now?
One of the works that we do, one of the main mandates of NCIC is mediation, to bring people back together, be it communities, ethnic groups, but also I can tell you we've done a lot of mediation within government. Whenever there are factions of people fighting and another, sometimes we've seen the display of that on media, like in the case that we saw with the airport issue,
the Venezuela.
You have to get involved and really make sure it tones down.
So media
that's why you saw
the DCI and
saw
the
that.
commission.
Yeah, that's why you saw there was a press conference. They said, "Oh, let's do kumbaya." You understand? So it's something actually we do behind the scenes, and we look forward. I know them. Let me tell you something. Truthfully, I know them personally. Okay, all of them. And I've spent a lot of time with them, especially during this process, hours and hours. And I know them, and I know where each side is coming from to an extent. And once you understand the dynamics and the challenges, why there's a conflict, it's easy to bring people together. And it's imperative. Let me just put it this way. Just talk to they are my colleagues, they are my fellow commissioners. It's imperative for the sake of our country, for them to come back together and move forward. Now, why? Let me tell you something. Even in our commission, we do differ. We have, and for us, for example, we are genuine in our conversations. We call it as it is. City, if you're wrong, I said, City, I think you blew it up here.
Yeah.
You understand? Yeah, I think you just blew it, man. Come on, and get your act together. And we say it. And sometimes it's really intense, but it's not personal. And it feels personal when you're attacked. It feels personal by saying, come on, I usually not say that. So you think I'm attacking you as a person, but I'm just really helping for the sake of that happens, especially such commissions behind the scenes. But it's not good. It's never good to air your linens out there, but especially in that manner, especially in the most critical time of our country. That is the most critical when that announcement was about to be made. There are differences, there are issues, but that wasn't the right way to go about it. It wasn't. I can tell you it wasn't. Purely because you are a commission and you stand. There's something in government. You own that decision. At times, even our commission, things are decided. And I can tell you, we dissent in the minute. So what happened is you dissent, like, listen, I did totally disagree with this position. Let the records show. Yeah. So, our minute is minted. But I can tell you, when I come here, I will not disown that decision. I'll say, the NCIC says this. In my heart, it's killing me. I'm like, this is just not right. This is, I'm fighting it. But you know what?
Collective responsibility.
That's just how usually happens, and we will try our best, because I know them individually. Try to say, guys, we've given them the whole night. Maybe tomorrow, today, maybe it'll sober up and we can have a discussion and see where we can bring them back together and we can move and heal our country.
And
It's
heal the
important.
country.
Yeah.
Dr. MAKORI, we thank you very much for speaking to us and joining us this morning. Take the next 30 seconds. Send a message to all Kenyans who are listening.
I think, first of all, is to congratulate, of course, the president-elect, William Soweto, but also to congratulate Kenyans. Kenyans won. And Kenyans have been good. Keep the peace. Keep the peace. Love your neighbor is the most important thing. We've come this far. We're almost there. We'll continue to be a country. Love your neighbor, because that is the greatest commandment. We need each other. We are greater together.
Dr. DANVAS MAKORI is a commissioner with the National Cohesion and Integration Commission. As he says, Penda Jirani, that is what we've been talking about for a long time.